Welcome to the Andrew Zimmel podcast. This one's a lot of fun because we're talking about sports again. So we had the Astros scandal one with Parker Ray. If you haven't checked that one out, baseball guys, you're going to love this one. He's an Astros fan. You'll love it. This is a very good one because, and we're going to get into it as the podcast starts, but just to kick it off right now, we're talking Chiefs and Titans and the big AFC Championship game that happened on Sunday. I'm recording this Monday night, so this is a little bit late. You're not really hitting that 36-hour mark that I'd like to hit when we're talking about big games like this. But this was a very important game for a lot of big reasons. So we're going to cue the intro, and then we're going to jump into it right now.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Oh, excuse me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it. The game's over. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
All right, so first things first, I want to talk about the agony that I've been through not having a podcast or not having a real outlet to share with you guys this incredible NFL playoff, journey that we have been on together. And it's driven me up the wall crazy not being able to put something out and give you guys something. This game had a ton of implications on the line, not only for legacy and not only for playing in the Super Bowl, but just interesting stuff that just nuggets that I was all in. Now the now the 49ers and Green Bay game that happened the same day, that one's going to be on another podcast. So we're only focusing on the Chiefs and Titans on this one. So if you want to hear about the other one, jump over to the other podcast. I'm not going to hate you for it. This game had all the makings of an upset, and Chiefs come into the game as 7-point favorites. And if you know anything about the last show, you know that I'm a big gambling nerd. 2020, though, we're not gambling. We swore it off. It's a vice that we just can't do. Between Uncut Gems and between just the agony I went through during the bowl season, we're swearing off all gambling in 2020. So we'll see what happens during fantasy football season next year. But for the time being, I'm trying not to gamble in 2020. 7-point favorites the Chiefs were. They go down by 17-10 in the second quarter. Now, this matters a lot because this is the second week in a row the Chiefs got down by more than 7 points. The Chiefs' offense, we knew coming into the playoffs and we knew coming into the season, before Patty hurt his knee, we knew that this Chiefs' offense was special. Patrick Mahomes, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and a slew of running backs who could kind of do stuff out of the backfield. We came into the season knowing, I think, that this was the best team offensively in the league. Defensively, a lot of question marks. Last year, they come one blown play away, essentially, with D4 jumping off sides from playing in the first Super Bowl in, I want to say, 49 years for the Chiefs. This game had all of the makings of an upset, with Derrick Henry, King Henry, coming in, averaging, I want to say, something like 100-plus yards per game in the playoffs. He was a workhorse for the Titans. He is the biggest reason for the Titans being in that position. And I didn't think the Chiefs had an offense that was going to be able to stop him. And it looked tough in the first half, with the Chiefs not being able to stop Derrick Henry and getting down by 10, and the Titans essentially saying, okay, we are going to run this game. We're going to run at our pace. Now, this analogy kind of works when in the NBA, if you have a really up-paced team, a team that has a lot of good shooting, a lot of young players, going up and down the court really fast, the worst thing you can do is try to play with them. The Warriors were the kings of this in the late 2000 teens, where they were the team that was like, all right, we're going to run up and down the court on you. If you try to play with us, if you play at our speed, there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with us. And we're just going to tucker you out. There's no way we're going to be able to do it. The Titans are the grit and grind team that says, no, stop. We're running this game at our pace. This is going to be our game from start to finish. They did it to the Patriots, and they did it to the Ravens, where they got a lead, and they were able to hold on to it because their defense is stellar. And if you listen to the last show, if you heard me during the season, I'm not a big Tennessee Titans fan. It goes back to the press box early in the season when I had an annoying guy that continued to tell me how great the Titans were. This is in week 3. They struggled to start the season. I was not buying it at all. So I've had that chip on my shoulder going into the playoffs. Now, when we got in the playoffs, I kind of said, all right, bygones be bygones. The playoffs are different. Ryan Tannehill coming out of Texas A&M. I've watched his career to this point, and I was kind of excited to see what he could do with this Titans team after taking the mantle and pretty much being the guy in Nashville after they benched Mariota. So him and his ability to play, Derrick Henry, a lot of intrigue right there. Former Alabama running back, was a backup running back, split carries with DeMarco Murray, who's out of the league now. This was a lot of interesting stuff with this Titans team. So the fact that they came into Foxborough, said, all right, we're taking the reins, we're going to run the game like we want to run the game, and just pounded the ball down the Patriots' throat. Then they go to Baltimore and say, all right, you have the potential MVP, the guy that we all think is going to win the MVP of the season. You've got that guy. Well, we have this workhorse running back, and we're going to take a lead, and our defense isn't going to give up any big plays, and we're going to run the clock. This is going to be our game. This is our season. And it really did feel like a season where everything came together. This is not unlike, and nobody's been making this comparison because I don't know if it's a comparison we can make. It's not unlike that Jaguars team 2 years ago who played in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots and ended up losing because Blake Bortles was a very subpar quarterback. It's not unlike that team in that they had a very good running back in Leonard Fournette out of LSU, another SEC school. They had a very good defense, kind of like the Titans defense, and they had all of the will of this is our year. They 100% bought in that this is their year. Mike Vrabel, the joke was the entire season, was that before the playoffs, he had said that, oh, I'm going to chop my penis off if we make the Super Bowl. Or if we don't, I guess that was the deal. Something about his schlong and going to the Super Bowl. Anytime any coaches do that, I'm like, oh, okay, good stuff. Doesn't really vibe with me, but go off, right? Like that's fine. But this team had all the makings of a team that was going to go in to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. And the Chiefs got down by 10 like they did against the Texans. And this feels more like a game, and you can say this about the Texans game, that felt like a game that they lost more than the Chiefs won. I know it was a 20-point game, but the Texans had a chance to put their foot on the throat of the Chiefs, and they didn't do it, and that ended up costing them in the long term. This game was from the beginning of the comeback where the Chiefs were able to score that touchdown to go down 10-7. They score the touchdown, go down 10-7, and I think from that point on I said, all right, I think the Chiefs, this is their game to win. This is a team that Mahomes has been built for. This is a team that Andy Reid, he's never made it to this point. He's made it to the Super Bowl before, but in his run as the Kansas City Chiefs, he's never made it to this point where the coach across the sidelines from him, arguably, Mike Vrabel's a good coach. He's not on the same level as Andy Reid. So this is a game where Andy Reid was the most competent head coach in the game. This is a game where he had the best running back. Or I'm sorry, they had the best quarterback, not best running back. Had the best quarterback, had the best weapons around his quarterback, had the best protection for his quarterback. This was a game for the Chiefs to win, and they ended up doing it. They come back, they score 14 points in the second quarter, they score 14 points in the fourth quarter, and this was just a show by Mr. Patrick Mahomes. When you look at the numbers, and I hate number podcasts, I hate number radio so much, but I can't stress this enough, QBR doesn't matter when we look at quarterbacks, okay? Jimmy G had an incredible QBR in his game against the Packers. He threw the ball like 10 times, okay? QBR does not matter. What I care most about is turnover ratio. I care most about the quarterback keeping control of the ball, and Patrick Mahomes was able to do that. He scored 4 total touchdowns, 3 in the air, 1 on the ground, in an incredible third down run where he runs from 27 yards out, ends up scoring a touchdown to end the half to give the Chiefs essentially a commanding lead going into halftime. And his ability to throw the ball, I know I'm not breaking any new ground when I say that his ability to throw the ball is masterful, is incomparable. Like, you cannot compare him to any other quarterback the way that he is able to put the ball on the money. His touchdown to Tyreek Hill, I want to say in the second quarter, on what looked like it's essentially verts. They just run verts every time, but the 10 to 15 yards for the wide receiver to create separation before they just go down the field. In that 10 to 15 yards, his ability to look off the defenders in about that the middle area, the linebacker area, to be able to look those guys off and still go the ball deep to Tyreek Hill on a perfect throw where the defender had no way of getting the ball. It was right on the money. If you didn't see the game, you missed out on a real show of quarterback play by Patrick Mahomes. This guy, I said this during the game, and I've tweeted this about every single game that Mahomes has played since about week 11, week 12-ish, that he is exactly what I wanted from Aaron Rodgers as a football fan. Aaron Rodgers, I never could really get behind him, because of just the way that he acted. I never really liked the way that he treated his teammates, the way he treated his coaches, and some of it's to be fair. Mike McCarthy, now the head coach of Dallas, I think he kind of wasted a lot of that talent that Aaron had. But all that said, I never liked the way Aaron carried himself. Always thought he was a little bit more arrogant and cocky than he really needed to be. I don't think those are good attributes in a leader. I don't think that that's a very good way to run your team as a quarterback. So I never really could get behind him. And then also he plays the Vikings 2 times a year, and those are 2 scheduled losses essentially on the Vikings schedule every single year. So I never could really get behind Aaron Rodgers. Then he's been banged up lately. He hurt his leg, hurt his shoulder, hurt his collarbone. And at this point, he's 36 years old. It's 10 years past the time that he was able to win his first Super Bowl, his only Super Bowl. And I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes now, and he has all of the intangibles that Aaron Rodgers had. Great feet, cannon arm, able to read defenses, not a very high turnover ratio. And if anything, I think that he has better running ability and escapability than Aaron Rodgers ever had. Now, to be fair, Aaron was able to create a lot of plays with his legs, was able to extend a lot of plays in the playoffs, something that we have not yet seen from Mahomes to do. All that said, this game, after the season that he had where he got banged up a little bit, after the season he had last year where he wins the MVP, he comes into the season, gets banged up, is essentially a second thought. Nobody really thinks about him as Lamar Jackson continues to make highlight reels. He was able to go underneath the radar in a lot of people's minds. I know I saw one when they were breaking down the best quarterbacks in the playoffs. He was number 3 or 4, which now going to the Super Bowl, I think all of us agree he has been the best quarterback in the playoffs. This game came down to the system that the Chiefs are running beating an inferior team. This is where the luck ran out for the Tennessee Titans, which, can I just say, an incredible run to knock off the defending Super Bowl champions and the 1 seed and the MVP all in one playoff run. Outstanding. I loved every minute of it. So where do we go from here? Right now, the Chiefs open up as 1.5-point favorites in the Super Bowl. And we're going to get into the 49ers on the next podcast. So if you're into that, just listen to the next one and we'll get you right there. But where do we go from here if you're the Chiefs? Your running game was led by Patrick Mahomes. He was able to score a touchdown and get 50-ish yards. Williams has 45 and a touchdown. This running game is the thing that the 49ers did so well of shutting down. And I don't anticipate them to go to the run early in the Super Bowl, and I would not anticipate them to try to run the ball at all against the 49ers. I think that the 49ers defensively are a better team than the Chiefs. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is really where it feels like, and again, it's not a perfect comparison because Patty is a much better thrower than this guy ever was. But the 49ers versus the Ravens in 2012, when we had Kaepernick at the peak of his powers, that is what it feels like to me with Patrick Mahomes, is this outstanding electric quarterback who can get things done with not only his arm but also his legs, and also has a defense that Kaepernick had a much better defense. Like, let's be completely honest here. The 49ers defense that year was outstanding. And he had a better running game with Frank Gore. This is all going to be on Patty's arms and his leg and his playmaking to win this game for the Chiefs. They open up as 1.5-point favorites. He opens up as the favorite to win Super Bowl MVP. It's plus 150 for him. I like the Chiefs in this game. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm giving it away early because this is the first of the two podcasts. But I'm giving the game away a little bit early. But I really like the Chiefs in this game. And as we get closer and closer to the Super Bowl, I'm going to try to bring on different writers and different stuff to talk about this game and what we can expect from both sides. So it might be some redundancy. You might hear me say the same points a couple times. But again, this is a daily podcast. And as we can bring more sports writers on, we'll see what happens. I'm just telling you right now that this game was very exciting for a number of reasons. Now let's flip over to the Titans, the losers. History always remembers the winners, never remembers the losers. You cannot tell me 5 years ago who came in second place in the AFC because it doesn't matter. You can't tell me who came in second place in the Super Bowl because the only team that matters is the team that wins at the end. And this Tennessee Titans team will probably end up being the fourth best team out of the four teams that played on Sunday. Where do we go from here? First off, I think that you have to keep Tannehill. And I know that's a hot take, but I think that you keep Tannehill and you draft a quarterback in this draft. This is a deep quarterback draft. The next 2 years are very deep quarterback drafts. But Tannehill was able to kind of and I don't know, I don't want to compare him to his the guy that kind of replaced him in Miami, Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he has some of that Fitzpatrick magic. Kind of feels like the guy who, when his teammates are surrounding him and his teammates buy in, that you can uncork the screw and he goes. Okay? I get rid of Mariota. I don't keep Mariota around. I try to find I think he's a free agent. If he's not a free agent, I find a trade partner for him. It's an interesting offseason for the Tennessee Titans because I don't know the type of cap room that they have. When we bring on some Titans guys, we'll probably figure some things out there around the draft time, what we like, what we don't like from the Titans. But for me personally, Derrick Henry, 100% a all-pro, right? Like, this is a guy that for the next foreseeable future, the next 3 years, we're probably going to consider him one of the best running backs in the game along with Saquon and Ezekiel Elliott. If I am the Dallas Cowboys with Mike McCarthy, I'm looking at this game plan that the Titans had the last couple games, and I'm saying, what can we do to make this work? Because Mike McCarthy in Dallas has said that he doesn't want to run the ball as much as he did in Green Bay. He wants to throw the ball more. You get a great running back like Ezekiel Elliott. You can't waste him. You get a great running back like Derrick Henry. You can't waste it. You got to capitalize on what you have. I find a way to capitalize on Derrick Henry going forward if I'm the Tennessee Titans. Wide receiver-wise, they're really good. They got Davis. They got Brown. They had Humphreys, who I made fun of during the game. I tweeted about him. I said that he's doing his best Julian Edelman impersonation because it felt like he was the guy they were going to on fourth down over and over and over again to catch fourth down plays. I think it was twice, but whatever. My point is that I like Humphreys as a slot. I like what he can do for that team. What do they need? Corner help. I think that's a good place to start. Safety. I think the secondary for the Tennessee Titans is what they're really going to want to shore up. And, of course, the quarterback position. You're going to want to find a guy in this draft who you like going forward. And Ryan Tannehill, to me, is the stopgap to figure out what comes next for this Tennessee Titans team. For the Chiefs, they're my team to win the whole thing. I love the Chiefs in this game. Legacy-wise, this is an interesting game for Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if we can say definitively that this is the start of the Mahomes era. I think that started last year. I think when the history books write themselves, they're going to consider this the beginning of his career. If he wins a Super Bowl, I think he's only like 24 right now. If he wins a Super Bowl at this age, he goes into the same type of conversations as the guys like Brady. Essentially, winning a game very young is something that I think we like to see out of our quarterbacks. Yeah, he's 24 years old right now. So, 24-year-old quarterback ends up winning the Super Bowl. This is going to be a very special season for Patrick Mahomes. Now, I got to add something in at the very end of this podcast because this is where I'm selfish. Part of me, like 2% of me, was rooting for the Titans in this game. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they're the only team that the Vikings did not play this year and lose to. Okay? Like, I'm pretty sure that they were the only team. I think I looked this up. They were the only team, the Titans, that the Vikings didn't play and lose to. Because, and this is why this is so important, of the 4 teams that played on Sunday, the Packers beat the Vikings twice. The 49ers had beat the Vikings in the playoffs, and the Chiefs had beaten the Vikings on a field goal. Those 3 teams, when you make the Super Bowl DVD, those 3 teams would have the Vikings in their Super Bowl DVD. So forever we would be immortalized with teams that they beat to win the Super Bowl. This came at the worst the last couple of years. One was the Eagles, who ran all over the Vikings in the NFC Championship 2 years ago. And then, of course, in 2009, 10-ish, when the Saints beat the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. And we were in the NFC Championship game, and they put that in the DVD. I do my best to keep the Vikings out of those Super Bowl DVDs. And this is a game. This is a time where I think that the field goal will be in there if the Chiefs win. But for sure, the playoff win the 49ers had over the Vikings will be in the DVD. So that's going to do it for the show. Thank you so much for continuing to listen and support the podcast. It means so much. You guys don't understand how much it means to me that you guys support the show. The next one is going to be about the 49ers. So if you listen to the 49ers one and you listen to this one, you probably got a lot of, okay, why is he continuing to talk about the 49ers? If you listen to this one, now listen to the 49ers one, you get my breakdown of why Aaron Rodgers' legacy is tarnished by this game Sunday night. Thank you so much for listening. Love you guys. See ya.